All right, good. So I'm just gonna start with stepping up. And if you're without a step at your spot, you could work with some high knees, just kind of marching in place. And if you need to add more resistance, get yourself some weights just to hold on to, or if you have those ankle weights, those work too. I'm gonna probably bring those into my practice here. I have a couple. They feel weird, but they work. So, how are you? How is your sunny June morning going? Getting into the afternoon now. So this will be the first of my mindful cardio teaching. I've not been working on this, been taking a lot of the classes with Scott, and been really enjoying the information he's bringing and this practice of being more mindful when I'm out trying to get that heart rate up a little bit. So just finding a good spot for yourself to do some movement. Those high knees, or if you have stairs in your house. I did a whole workout sometime this winter or early spring. It just rained, it was pouring rain. I usually go outside. I'll take my device outside and listen to Scott while I'm running or walking or hiking. But I did the whole workout on the stairs. I have 12 and a quarter stairs at my house, and I just use them. I used the first 3 stairs for a while. I did a whole bunch of different things on that level, and then I did the whole staircase. And I don't have to get going very hard, right, or fast to get the heart rate going. And we talk a lot about getting the heart rate into a sweet spot. And that's a different spot for everybody, but we can use our resting heart rate to kind of figure out where that is. And there's a bunch of different calculations. The most common one people know is 220 minus your age and times something. So I'm not using that one today, so I didn't even think about that, but we can talk about the different ones that there are. I'm gonna switch which foot goes up first here for a while. And if I wanted to get going more with my heart rate, again, I would add that resistance. I could speed up. I could start moving my arms. And you might have a bike you can ride, right? So we're just kind of getting warmed up here. And you might start out and you're in this zone 1. So they talk about these different zones that you can watch for your heart rate. And normally I have on a band around my center that will read my heart rate pretty much in real time. And then there's all these lovely watches and things like that. Notice I don't have one on today, hoping to add that to my repertoire, especially teaching this class so I can see where my heart rate is. But today I'm gonna just have to use that old fashioned, check out where my heart rate is with my finger, get the pulse, right? And we can do that 15 seconds of counting, multiply times 4, and kind of see where you're at. So I don't know if you got in your email some other information. If not, we'll make sure you get it. If you haven't done any of the cardio classes and don't know about the Carbonen scale of these zones, there's a nice little thing to plug in your resting heart rate and see where your zone 2 is. You plug in your age and your resting heart rate, I think. And then you kind of know your sweet spot of where we want to be for the most part in this practice. So good. Thanks for the comments. I've got the chat open so I can sort of read it from here. I've got a big monitor. So how's everybody doing? Is your heart rate up a little bit? So I get to talk to you. You can even hear probably a little bit of heart rate happening here because I'm breathing a little harder than I would be if I were sitting for sure. Am I in my zone 2? I don't know. Probably right on the lower edge. But I'm going to keep talking to you, so I'm probably not going to get too much faster today, but I do want to continue to show you different ways to work with the step, different ways you can work on your own just stairs in your house, and then things we can do on the mat, right? Things that we're doing already on Sunday's class. And that when we add that resistance, we know we're getting our heart rate up. And a lot of times I think my heart rate goes up even more than that zone 2. And you might feel that too, like it kind of spikes a little bit. You get into zone 4, almost that high intensity training where you go up and then you come back down. But just so you know, like, we really just want to get a lot of this zone 2 thing, a lot of that not going too high and not kind of staying down too low. Good. So I love hearing your feedback. If you have any, like, what are you working with today? If you're doing if you have nothing, you have no equipment, and you're doing this walking, maybe you're lifting your knees a little higher. Maybe you're kind of making a side step. So I'm going to give some of these options for really, what would I do if I was in the airport or didn't want another piece of equipment? And if you're riding your bike, you can make that harder a lot of times, or you can go faster, or some other kind of stationary equipment. Maybe you like to do a rowing machine. Those are interesting to stay in my right heart rate, to not get too crazy. So even just tapping side to side, you can feel if I'm going quickly like this, my heart rate where it is. And it's going to be different for everybody. It's going to be different every day. So let's go ahead and take a breath. And I just gave a whole lot of information about zone 2 and scales and heart rates. But let's just really feel the feet, whatever they're doing. If they're in a bike pedal, if they're tapping. So you can bring your brain all the way down into your feet, maybe into your knees, maybe into the legs. Maybe you find the breath. And yet, with our work here, I'm going to go back to stairs. If the heart rate goes up, generally our breath will accommodate. And a little bit different than the work we might do on the mat in yoga and Pilates, we'll control the breath a little bit more. We'll invite the breath a little bit more purposefully, right? When we're doing this exercise, we're going to rely on good old nervous system knows what it needs. So go ahead and let that happen. So I like to start making a little wider step. If you have a step that's wide enough. And again, what I like about the home stairs, sometimes there's a railing right there. You can use that to try new things. So step, 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 and then just tap that last foot and then travel back over. It's been a while since I was in the mid-90s in aerobics class, but it seems to come back pretty easily. We did a bunch of things on this thing. So we'll keep exploring those things. They're kind of fun. Fun to dig those out, and similar to what I try to do on the mat when we do work with some of our stability things. How's your heart rate? Should we do a check just to see? So you might not be all that interested in that, but just kind of curiosity. Go ahead and check it out. And unless you're doing a lot of checking in with your heart rate, And knowing that your heart rate can really change, like tomorrow I could do this same thing I'm doing here, and maybe my heart rate is lower because I got better sleep last night. Or maybe my heart rate is higher because something else is going on. So the premise here of wearing something around the middle, that chest harness, or at the very least, maybe that one that's on your wrist, although those can be lagging quite a bit. The watches that say, we'll give you your heart rate, a lot of times they're a little behind, 1 to 2 to 5 minutes behind. Like that's what your heart rate was a while ago. So that's the tricky part about it. They're working on it, but the chest harness seems to be a little more accurate in the moment. Where am I right now going up this hill when I'm out walking? Good. All right, so we did a bunch of traveling. I'm gonna come back to the center. I'll take some stairs straight ahead. I'm gonna go up with the right leg every time, just for fun. Just for a little while, a couple of right-legged ones. So the other thing that we can do once we kind of establish ourselves and what we're doing is we can bring some more information for you in the realms of health and wellness. And I tend to be a big reader, like to read about all this stuff, whether it's happiness or strength practices or living longer. I have a book right now that's called Lifespan by David Sinclair. Some amazing science going on in that area of aging, and kind of been blowing my socks off as I get through it. And I could share some of those things with the group if you're interested. Maybe you're interested in some other mindfulness things. So we won't talk about your heart rate the entire time, although we will stay mindful in the body and kind of making sure we check in every class. And we are going to get a little more weights. So go ahead. I think I'm going to add those now. I'm going to grab some weights and do a few more minutes here with the step. I'd like to get in 20 good minutes at that zone 2. I'm going to switch sides, left foot going up. So we have 5 minutes at the beginning. We might be just kind of ramping up. 20 to 25 minutes of being in that zone 2. And even if you don't have all of the devices today, some movement, right? Better than no movement. And also learning new stuff. So what I like about the stair coming back into my life is kind of like way back in the cobwebs. There's something about things I used to do on it in a class. It was much more amped up. Lots of music, instructor yelling into a microphone. But there's other things that I can do now mindfully that are going to be helpful going forward. And I think I'll have that resilience piece that, you know, when I was younger, I just had it. I think we have resilience as young people, and then we need to kind of keep building it, keep it part of the part of our lives. So I also have another like level I can put underneath my stair. That's another way to add resistance, right? Step up a little higher. And I'm going to come right onto the top, and I'm going to try stepping down and back up. So it's a little weird to step backward, but I love this stepping down part and back up. Again, so if you have stairs and you're working on stairs, you could do this at your house. You maybe are going to go down 2 stairs instead of just 1. Just talking about knees this week, right? I was asked to do a little work with knees, and the comment was on Sunday, you know, it hurts my knees a lot more to go down the stairs than it does going up. You bet. So we need these quadricep muscles, right, to help catch us. Both hamstrings too really are helping out as we step down, but to stabilize that knee really strong, and maybe just doing it a little bit more in a really mindful way, giving us a nice reminder for all those things. Foot straight ahead, knee straight ahead, pelvis straight ahead. How's your heart rate? How are you feeling in your body? You ever talk to somebody and for some reason they get distracted and they're kind of out the door before you finish? And we'll joke around in my house, like, oh, so-and-so left the building. So we want our body to be with us, with our mind here. And sometimes I feel like my body leaves the building if I'm not careful, if I get really wound up into what I'm doing. That's okay once in a while. But sometimes that's can lead to really not knowing where my body is in space. So don't let the body leave the building. All right, I think I'm done stepping down in the front. We come on back behind there. Let's do a little more traveling. So what I call traveling, I'm gonna step wide, step back and tap. Wide. If you want to get a little quicker, you're welcome to. And you can also step that foot back behind you a little further. I'm gonna have to give myself a little more space next time. I wasn't sure how that would work out. Tap behind or right next to. Tap. Tap. So if this is new for you and you're finding a little bit of needing to kind of jumpstart the brain, remember back to if you did do any of Scott's dementia workshop, or if you've been following any of that, when they say do new things, it's especially cool to do it in movement. Especially cool, right? That we get to do these practices and then Colette and Scott and all of the other teachers get to give us like a new thing to try to put in there. Are you doing this? Can you do that? So if you're in dance, maybe you learn new dances. If you're doing this kind of activity, it's like that brain has to catch up. So good for us. So I'm not discounting any crossword puzzles or Sudoku. I never say it right, and it could be the right pronunciation. And those are good, but I really like that learning edge with movement. Let's see, we got these weights here. If you have some weights and you want to do some nice bicep curls, maybe you're doing high knees, maybe you're stepping side to side. You're feeling a little bit dewy, a little warmed up. Another family joke. Not sweaty, but dewy. So if you get a chance before you sign off, let me know what you're interested in learning about, talking about. Let me know what you're using to do your cardio. Let me know what you've got for weights. If you have a couple sets of weight, different sets, different size weights. Good. Come straight up here onto the block, onto the step, and come forward. I'm going to give this a few tricep presses. And if I want to add a little more cardio here, I might squat down, come back up, squat down, come back up. Keep that cardio upward a little bit. Good. Keeping those elbows in just so you can see they're staying at my sides. And as I bend forward, then I get nice and straight. I imagine I'm a ski jumper. I have no idea if that's the correct. But it kind of looks like they do that, doesn't it? They come forward, if they have straight legs. You think, how much does she watch ski jumping? Not very much. But feeling your feet, feeling the triceps starting to kind of be there. And can the brain, your mind, be settled into these sensations in the body? And you didn't have to do that on the stair at all. You could have been on the floor. And check out my heart rate here. Good. How's yours? And then, so if you did that kind of count, we'd multiply times 4 to get your heart rate per minute. And then you kind of just know where you're at. Oh, I'm higher than I was when I started. And then we can do those calculations if you haven't already in between now and next class. So, all right, I'm going to move a little bit more here straight on with this. And if you want, you can add overhead, step down, step up, overhead. And coordination, right? I want to make sure I don't fall down. Today's my first class, really getting back on the step, even though I've done these overheads. If I were to go faster, I'm not sure how things would look. But by the end of the month, things will be better. And I'm also probably going to be doing a little bit of traveling. And so some of my classes, I won't have the step. So I'll be literally doing those side steps, working with calisthenics, working with some other strength things that I know get my heart rate up. And our time will be spent a little bit differently for those few classes. So make sure you're switching feet. I'm going to go ahead and go from the right now for a few times. If you have really heavy weights, you might be feeling like it's time to hold the weights down at your sides. Do the weights start to bring your heart rate up? Can you feel that going on? Weights down at my sides. Go a little bit quicker with my weights in my hands, but you don't have to speed up at all. But I'm pretty sure I'm fairly close to that from what I was reading before, being in zone 2. I want to spend the next minute or two in that zone 2 before I start to cool down. And yet what we do on the mat will probably bring that heart rate up just a little, but it'll be like little spikes rather than maintained, right? Feeling my feet. I'm gonna switch feet again. Maybe I'll add those arms out. Doesn't matter exactly what you're doing as far as the in and out. Good. Arms getting tired. Pulse come up a little bit. pause just to bring my arms together and be really mindful about that lift. Good. How's everybody doing? Let's go ahead and walk in place here. All right, take the feet a little wider. Plant the feet, squat, walk. Plant the feet, squat, plant. Plant the feet, squat, walk. Even swing your arms if you'd like, as we ought to when we walk. If you're out walking, let your arms swing if you can. Let that be nice and free. Good. Plant, squat, squat. I'm gonna go a little bit quicker, just a couple of steps in between. You can choose. Plant, squat, squat. Good. Plant, squat. Turning my feet out a little bit as they get wide. So if your feet are going wide, it's pretty natural to turn the toes out a little bit. Good. Let's go ahead and move side to side with the feet. Coming up on that 30 minutes of pretty close. We got a little bit late start, but just a minute or two. Tapping. You don't have to be tapping as fast. Remember, I'm kind of looking into that. Where's the heart rate? And our heart rate max, right? That starts to come down generally as we get older. Am I back? I'm back. All right. We're going side to side. So let's take that side step and lean a little bit, squat and pulse. If that hurts the knees or is bothersome, come back to the center with your weight a little more. Good. Come on up and tap. Good. And I'm going to do some side, go to the other side. Little lean. You can get straight with this inside leg or keep it pretty bent, but still leaning over to one side and bounce a little pulse up and down. Good. Come on up. Let's come to center. We're going to go to the other side. Squat. I'm going to give that little length there to the other leg. Little pulse. Come up. Again, check in. If the knee doesn't like that, don't go so far into it. Become a little more center and pulse. Or shift just a little. Pulse. Knee in line with toes. It feels okay. Feels like I'm getting into those quads right above, right? Come on back to center. Once we've got these weights in our hands, let's go ahead and add another set of triceps. So let's go ahead and pull in, breath, press out. Is your body still here? And it didn't leave the building? Keeping the mind here with the body. Feeling the knees, the feet. And then of course this work we're doing in the arms feels really nice. Does it feel nice and strong in the body? Good. All right. I'm going to use my stair here, put the weights down for a moment and see if I can use the stair for my push-ups. And so there's kind of an incline push-up. We're also going to work a little bit, we'll see. I don't know if it's tall enough to do the other one I wanted to do. So I'm going to push this out for you just a little. So I've got some room back here. And then finding my hands on my stair. Now, if you don't have your stair, again, go right down to your mat. That's no problem. You can also do this on a bench if you have a bench that you take your shoes off on, or a wide chair would work. You can do that as well. But then you'd probably be standing with the chair. I'm gonna have my knees down, bring the hips in line, see if I can work with some push-ups. So Sundays, we work on that form a little bit more. I'm not gonna go all the way down to the mat, all the way down to my stair here. But you could see how that feels to be a little more supported in your push-up. Good. And then call that one good. Go ahead and stretch it back if you'd like. Good. Oh, the other one I wanted to see about, it's a little bit easier with the chair. I've done that in our other class. I'm going to come in front of the stair. I sit on the front, bring my hands right next to me. So again, a bench or a little bit wider chair is really nice, but you could have your hands kind of pulled in onto the seat of a chair and do these same ones. Take my feet out, and I'm going to work with a little dip. So my hips come off, and I bend the elbows and dip down. Now, because my stair isn't very high, this is a real small range of motion, which is kind of nice just to work there. If I want to make it harder, I'll bring my feet out. They're even out of your frame there, and I'm gonna let them be a little bit further away. Take my seat down to the floor. If all of this isn't, your other option is to work with the triceps with the weights, just like we did earlier. So if this isn't working for you, we'll get it working eventually. And I'm gonna walk my way back. All right, so it was definitely a little bit better with a little bit higher bench. I love using picnic tables for this. The seats of the picnic table work really good. So next time you're out at the park, good. So let's come back up to your feet. Back to some weights. Get a couple more of these nice straight on squats with some weight. I grabbed a little bit heavier weight. I'm gonna come on down, get into that nice squatting position. Sunday, we worked with a little bit of a squat. So normally thinking about, let's start with shins forward squat. Got my tennies on today. I don't know if I'll continue. We'll see. Kind of nice with the stair. So we'll see, because now I don't want them on. So I might have to do that. Mr. Rogers, switch your shoes. Come back up. Shins forward. Come back up. Shins forward. A little more leaning into that front of the body, right? The knees are coming out in line with the toes, maybe over the toes. But I really feel that nice work for the muscles that support the knees. So if that doesn't feel good, don't go so far. We'll get there. Feel the toes. Come on down. Doing a little bit of a bounce here. We're just kind of holding and coming back up. Good. Overhead. How's your heart rate? Check in just a second. Just doing those. A little bit up, isn't it? Maybe even more than it was on your stair work. Overheads here. That's what I find, right? When I add the resistance, the weights, and I start doing these activities that without them don't seem to spike my heart rate, all of a sudden, now we're working with something that's a little bit more push, even overhead here. I keep the speed going and I'm pushing a little bit more. You can feel my heart rate is still going, right? And the best way to know where it's at is one of those devices. Good, come on back down. Let's take our weights in a roll down. I'm gonna soften the knees, chin toward the chest. Rolling down, getting nice and round. I'm just gonna let that, if that feels okay for you to feel that nice length for your body, the sit bones, kind of down and back. The arms getting that little tug from your weights. And using the core, come on back up. All the way up to standing. Good. So reference to Sunday, we talked about what happens if we take our seat a little bit further back. And maybe sometime you had a gym life in your life and you did a wall sit. You did a sit that set back away against a wall. I'm not asking you to do this one, but I want you to think about how much of my weight went into my heels when I did that, right? It's very different. I'm gonna take these weights out in front, find that nice stance, sit back, and I'm gonna let my toes get a little light. I don't wanna tip backward, but I'm gonna let more weight come back and just see how that feels in my legs, maybe in my seat, around my hips. Just sit back a little bit. If you like the wall support and you've got it there, go for it. Good. And then see if you can shift just a little bit. Shifting your hips a little one way or the other. Feeling the toes. They're still grounded. They just don't have much weight. Really sending it back. And then come on up to standing. Can feel my heart rate, can you? All right, nice work. So let's see. I think we're gonna take this show down in to the mat. So I'm just gonna move my step a little bit. My space, not quite as luxuriously big as Blue Mountains. Bring my mat in here. Come on down to your mat. And let's come to seated. And then let's grab on behind the legs. Just see if we can connect in. We did a lot of arm, we did some leg, we did some nice mindfulness to all those pieces. Let's bring it into the core for our last few minutes here. So grabbing on back of the legs. Finding your way back. Don't go all the way down. Let's just see what it feels like to find that kind of short box place. That's one of the exercises in the Reformer series, where it looks a lot like a roll down or a roll up, but we don't go all the way. And coming back up. If you want more challenge, the arms can stay straight rather than holding on to the back. And this time coming back, and again, you can be holding on to one side or taking the arms out and then taking one arm out. And back to center, other arm out. And back to center. Out. And center. Out. And center, you can hang on if you like. Out. And center. Out. And center. Go ahead and hang on and come up. If you felt any of that in the front of the legs, go ahead and give your legs a little hug in. Good. Let's go ahead and take the hands behind you, just like we did for the tricep dips, right? We had them like this for those tricep dips, but they can be out to the side. Your fingers can point outward as well. And then let's find that same position, belly pulling back here. So such an interesting dynamic to find here, the belly pulling back and getting rounded down here and yet not collapsing my shoulders forward. So finding that nice, sweet spot. And it takes me a little while, a lot of times to find that, honestly. And find my arms back here a little more, my arms are long, so they were getting in the way. A little bend in the elbows. Let's work with the foot. Take the leg out, toe, heel, toe, and come back in. Toe, heel, toe, come back in. Supporting from your belly, this work. Notice if you're using the leg a lot, you really just want to get into nice ankle movement, toe movement. The foot is turned out just a little bit. I want to support that with the belly. And you could be lifting that foot up the whole time, sliding it along the floor. Or you could even try to do both legs up. Toe, heels together, Pilates knee coming back in. Out, toe, heel, toe. And quite honestly, that's very difficult for me to keep my upper body like I think it probably should be. I do a whole lot of adjusting. Go ahead and come up. Let's take the feet out. If you want a little bend in the knees here, or let the legs be nice and straight, pull the belly back. Let's take the arms forward. That nice stretch for the upper body. Come back up. Sit up nice and tall. Again, if the knees come up to help you sit up nice and tall, that's fine. Then go ahead and sink back behind the sit bones. And then go ahead and reach out toward the toes. And reaches out. Coming back up. And this time, go forward with a straight spine. So find that nice straight spine, as much bend in your knees as you'd like, and let yourself hinge more in the hip. So this is switching gears from Pilates to yoga. Let your spine come forward as much as it can. You might feel a little tug in the back, so just go as far as you feel resistance. If it's enough, stop. And then round the spine. Let the head come down. You might just take a few cleansing breaths, depending on where your heart rate is or how the breath wants to be. You don't have to force it. And then roll yourself back up to seated. All right. First class done. So this will be a shorter class, 45 minutes. We won't be doing like meditations and things like that. There just won't be enough time. We're going to continue to keep strength elements in there, keep cardio elements, be mindful. Really would love to hear your feedback either here today or in an email, you know, what you're using, what you'd like to see, what you want to hear about as we go forward. Because I do have some time, you know, I don't want to bore you to death with anything that's always about checking your heart rate, but that will be my job to make us check in a little bit. So yeah, any feedback is great now or later, and have a wonderful rest of your day, and look forward to seeing you again next week. Just checking in on messages. Good, thank you. Thanks for the message. Oopie, what did I do there? Okay, thank you. Where is the, there it is. Okay. Thanks, Kathleen. I'll look forward to seeing it.